Welcome back to A Drink with Crazy, and some interesting things are happening with Netflix and the Avatar series creators leaving the live action over apparently creative differences.
That's the catch-all for we got pissed at each other.
Yeah. That's the catch-all for. And it's very interesting because Avatar The Last Airbender is a huge part of our childhoods.
Oh, very much so.
And it's very interesting to see kind of the flame war that Netflix has ignited on Twitter over, The Last Airbender versus The Legend of Korra. And we really have some thoughts on what Netflix should be doing with Avatar.
Well, he does.
The Last Airbender. Yeah, this is kind of my wheelhouse here. But nevertheless, don't forget that if you guys like what we're doing, go down and hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell, because as every YouTuber knows, only 50% of the people watching, and even our analytics say this with such a small channel, only 50% of the people watching are actually subscribed to the channel. It's kind of weird how that works out from the big guys to the little guys. But if you guys would love to be a part of those people subscribed and watching, go down below and help us out and like this video, because that would really, really mean a lot to us.
We need the validation.
We
do. Please.
He needs the validation.
I'm like a puppy. I just want to be pet once in a while. Told I'm a good boy.
Hey, and speaking of that, there's Doggo.
Yes, Doggo.
And without any further ado, let's talk about Avatar The Last Airbender and Netflix.
Let's do it.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you ring that notification bell, and make sure to share this with everyone you know to help us beat that massive YouTube algorithm. So over the last few months, Avatar The Last Airbender has definitely been out there in the ether on the interwebs. People talking about it, people commenting on it. Netflix trying to incite a war between what's better, Avatar The Last Airbender or The Legend of Korra. And
they both had their strengths and weaknesses.
They both did. Admittedly, objectively speaking, The Last Airbender is better than The Legend of Korra.
It's a stronger overall narrative. I felt like
it is.
Korra was a little bit more like each season was self-contained, whereas Last Airbender was this big.
I liked the philosophy that they tried tackling in The Legend of Korra.
Oh no, they had some great ideas, and it was nice to see a more mature character set, because obviously they're very much kids.
Yeah.
In The Last Airbender, I mean, Aang is what, 12? Yeah, and Katara would have been like 12 to 14.
And I think by the time we
like 15,
finished
16.
the Legend of Korra, I think she's like 23 or 24.
Yeah.
So I personally,
she's in her 20s
I
at
do
least.
personally like Legend of Korra better, simply because of some of the philosophy that they try to tackle. Outside of that, though, the Legend of Korra is just objectively not as good as The Last Airbender.
It had more weak episodes.
One of the things is, a lot of people, obviously the Dragon Prince is out on Netflix now. That is from the same creators as that's kind of the spiritual successor to Avatar in The Last Airbender and the
same
Legend
animation
of Korra.
style. And I've always looked at Dragon Prince as kind of like Game of Thrones for kids.
Yeah, and it's really good. And actually, I do like the Dragon Prince.
It's a fine show. I have some of my issues with season 3, but it's still a very good season.
It is.
They went down a couple story beats that were just a little too obvious.
And so Netflix, obviously working with the original creators already of Avatar: The Last Airbender, tried to bring them on for a live action.
I know,
Avatar, which we were all very excited for, because
completely bury and erase the M. Night Shyamalan adaptation.
Because that's what we need to do. And it was just recently announced that the original creators will no longer be working on the live-action Netflix series for creative differences.
Which means that somebody got upset at somebody.
And some tweets were out there saying that they did not feel that Netflix wanted to really honor the spirit of the show. And I'm paraphrasing here, but essentially that's what it was. Oh, my God, I have a lot of animals over here.
Which makes me wonder what the hell happened.
Hi, fat kitties. You don't ever make it this far.
So we got the kitties and the doggo.
Oh, God. So I have lots of animals over here.
We got the menagerie going right now.
So here's the thing is, I think that the Avatar The Last Airbender thing needs to just be put on a shelf. And not just put on a shelf, but people just need to forget about it.
If you're not going to do it right, just don't do it, right?
Well, here's the thing is, it was a product of its time, and I think that in our culture we have a problem with recognizing certain things being of their time, and we want to constantly bring them back into the pop culture.
It's the whole member berries thing.
Yeah. And, I mean, we've seen mistakes made, obviously, with Star Wars. We've seen mistakes made with, come on. I had like 3 or 4 of them in my brain right now.
Jurassic Park.
Well, yeah, Jurassic Park is one of them.
Terminator.
You know.
Predator. bunch of these old 80s movies tried to get
I mean,
rebooted.
I love me some Die Hard and some Rambo, but the fact of the matter is those were products of their time, and they need to stay there, you know.
Well, and I mean, it's fine to revisit or even expand upon. But honestly, a proper live action rendition of Avatar could have been really cool. Now, were they planning on doing the same storyline?
They were planning on something very similar, from what I'm to know. But like I said, when Netflix got involved, Netflix came out and said that we're going to honor these guys are going to have full control, which they were going to have full control as producers and writers. And then they basically bowed out and said that we were excited to work with Netflix on this, and then it became not what they told us. And so now we're looking at Netflix producing Avatar: The Last Airbender live action without the original series creators. And I mean, unless they have some super fans in there.
Witcher did fine, and that was Netflix produced.
No, there's a lot of things.
The internet kind of got after some of the showrunners on that because they were going to make some choices that weren't in the spirit of the books or the games.
Well, and they
got kind of beaten back on that one a bit, and the show I think is better for it.
I think that's exactly what the problem is here. Is that it sounds to me like Netflix is trying to push more of a political angle than
well, that's the default because it happens so much these days, right?
Well, and I think and it does,
and
that's
so without knowing, that's where my mind goes, is that they wanted to make some creative choices in terms of we'll just call it inclusivity that aren't all that inclusive and might have ran against the spirit of the show.
Well, absolutely, and I think that when you really boil down to it, Netflix needs to understand, and some of these actually creative types in Hollywood and showrunners and stuff like that, guys, sometimes something was just a product of its time, and it just needs to stay a product of its time.
I get you there.
Because the problem is that any time that I've seen them try to pull something out of the past and bring it into the present, what they end up doing is they end up changing people's perception of the past.
Yeah,
and I don't like that. Again,
still excited for the Mass Effect
one of my
remaster.
one of my catchphrases is time is the enemy of memory.
Well, yeah, but I'm still excited for the Mass Effect remasters. I'm sorry.
No, I know. Well, be excited for those, obviously, but it's just one of those things that I really don't understand why Netflix would be wanting to go full steam ahead without the series creators. And apparently there was
because they think they know better.
And apparently there were some people on Twitter that were just legit pissed about that, which I understand that. I mean, how are you going to sit there and say we're going to make this series that's true to the original, but it's live action? And true to doesn't mean they're going to follow the same story beats. They're going to have some other stuff in there.
Well, yeah.
But then all of a sudden the original creators come out and say, yet they don't want to be true anymore. And Netflix is going to go, yeah, but ours is going to be better. I don't really think you understand what better means in considering that they shaped what the goalpost is, and now you're basically just tearing that one down and saying, well, we're just going to put a goalpost somewhere else.
I mean, you see that so many times. I mean, it's like what Rian Johnson did with The Last Jedi. He thought he knew better than Lucas and would tell a better story, and it turns out it's kind of a poorly paced, incoherent mess.
Well, yeah.
And there are legitimate writing faults with that movie. I don't care how much you love it. You cannot deny that there are legitimate writing problems.
No, absolutely.
And, this whole idea of I can do it better almost never is.
Man, it does concern me, man, because I love Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think it's such a great show. My kids watch it still. I actually have to buy a new DVD box.
I still watch it.
Yeah, actually, I do too. I still need to actually rebuy the Avatar.
They are on
box
Netflix
sets,
right now.
But I want the box sets because
that's fair.
But they've got kind of destroyed over the years because kids, and I had a baby for a while that loved to just shove stuff in stuff.
Rest in peace, my PS3.
Rest in peace, PS3. Rest in peace.
No,
I 9 discs in it.
I know, because I think what happened is the baby saw, her elder siblings and the parent, you guys obviously putting the Blu-rays into it, and it worked, and so she goes, oh well, if I want to do this one, then she goes, no, I want to do this one now, and this one, and this one, and this one, and the thing had like 9 discs.
She's like making a PlayStation 3 sandwich. That's what she's
pretty
doing.
much.
She's like, I want that cheese and that meat and that cheese and that meat and that cheese, and then the PlayStation just wouldn't open one day.
Yeah, and
anyway, I digress.
Also, I can sit there and yell at Sony for not having some sort of mechanism to stop that from happening. Granted, I guess they didn't understand the whole, 18-month-old shoving, discs into it problem.
Well, I mean, there's probably also some of that, like, why isn't it going in? Why isn't it? Because the PlayStation was probably like, please stop doing this. And she's just like,
You're right.
So, anyway, I digress. So, But actually, that's a really good analogy for
Story time.
That's a really good analogy for kind of what it feels like Netflix is doing right now. Is like the disc doesn't belong here, guys, and Netflix is like, no, it's fine. We're just going to jam it in anyway, and it's going to ruin the entire system that we have built around Avatar. I think that's well. I actually think that's a really apt analogy. If you think about it, they're trying to force something where they shouldn't.
Shout out to a channel I watched. The Closer Look is a writing channel. Right.
Oh yeah, I've actually come across those.
And I was watching his thing on the Last of Us 2, and he says, "Look, love it or hate it," and he shows the whole plot pacing of the thing, and he goes, "This is just not how Western storytelling works." And so I'm obviously vastly paraphrasing here. It's like an hour and 50-minute video, and I'm trying to sum it up in 15 seconds. But and if you look at the little chart he made of it, where you have the soft beginning, Joel dies, spoilers. Too late now. Up into the theater where Abby finds him, and then we just drop straight back down to Abby, have to rebuild back up. Then we drop straight back down to the farm and have to build back up to the second. It's a mess, and this very long-winded relation here is stop just doing things because you think you're smarter than the system, please.
And that's one of the things that I wonder is, are we going?
There was a point to
Are
that.
we going
That
to consider M. Night Shyamalan's live action Avatar better than what they're about to do?
Oh God, I hope not, because I remember the earth bending from that, and you remember in the TV show, earth bending was this just
solid,
visceral,
powerful, and it just looked like they were dancing, and then they moved like a pebble,
and then like a rock just, and so I'm just like, guys, I mean. What are we going to do? What is there to improve on? Like, okay, so let me posit this hypothetical. What if you were to improve anything on The Last Airbender, what would it be? And I mean the TV show, not the movie, obviously.
Oh, that's a very good question. Obviously, so for me, because I have watched a lot of cartoons in my day, I'm a Dragon Ball Z fan. I absolutely hate the padded episodes, what do we call them? The filler episodes?
Yeah, the filler.
I hate filler episodes. I understand why people do filler episodes, and in some cases, filler episodes can be really good.
I
hate them. I can't stand them. I don't like them.
One of the best filler episodes was that episode where they did the brief stories of, and you had Sokka at the haiku place.
Well, that was huge for Iroh's character, because you got to realize about his connection with his son and the little Soldier Boy song at the end. Which,
that still gets me.
That's still heart-wrenching to this day. But again, there were some filler episodes in Avatar.
Toph and Katara at the spa, Sokka at the haiku place. Those didn't mean anything. The Iroh was the...
and that was kind of one of the selling points. But you really did... If they were to improve on anything, it's, get rid of the filler episodes. If they were to fill in on really Avatar being just one of the premium series, how are you going to improve upon that? Not only that, live action, you got your your work cut out for you. Because now that the showrunners have bailed on you because they said that they are not in the spirit of, first of all, any fans of it like us, when you hear the showrunners say this is not in spirit of what we want,
like every red flag goes up.
I'm already hands off. Yeah. I'm already hands off. Who knows? Maybe it's amazing.
I might watch the first, because I had some concerns.
I'm going to wait for reviews.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. But I mean, I was really concerned about The Witcher adaptation, right?
Actually, and I remember having conversations with you about that, because you are
very much into Witcher. He actually bought me
the books.
He actually bought me one of the medallions from the game. I used to wear that thing everywhere. One of the School of the Wolf medallions that Geralt has.
Yeah, because the only thing that he, it was a birthday gift to him that year, and usually we're like, and I just remember thinking, I was like, well, Matt said he would love to just have one of those necklaces. So yeah, that's how much he loves this. He's willing to wear.
When they said that, and I'm gonna get yelled at by the internet on this one, but when they tried to make Ciri, who's Geralt's adopted daughter, and keep in mind, this is a Polish game.
Yeah, Polish.
The showrunner comes out and says...
in Poland in like 1100?
11 or 12, something like that. Middle Ages. Dark Ages.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Swords and sorcery.
Yeah.
But no, and they come out and they say, the casting call is for African Americans or Asian Americans, and everybody goes, It's European. Like the story is set in Europe.
Yeah, the story is set in Europe, and that is actually culturally inappropriate to do such.
And so they they got all hot and hot and bothered by it, and how dare the internet troll us? But at the end of the day, now they decided that maybe there's a point to this.
And is that where they're going with this now?
That's what's got me concerned, and that's part of the reason I was so concerned. Plus, also, I was not sold on Henry Cavill being Geralt. Because I'm so used to game Geralt, right? Like, that is Geralt to me.
Well, not only that, Henry Cavill, Superman. I mean...
his track record didn't inspire a lot of confidence.
No, but apparently, he's a massive fan of the games as well.
And he grew out his own hair. He designed his own sword. He practiced with his own sword. He does all his own stunts. Like,
I need to watch the show now.
This guy is, like, hardcore in The Witcher.
He pulled the full-on Viggo Mortensen.
Exactly. No, This guy's, like, hardcore. I mean, he'd even walk around with those bloody awful looking contacts to make his eyes yellow like Geralt's.
Right.
And those things look uncomfortable, but he'd walk around in them. And I'm just like, you know what,
Are
dude,
we going
props.
to get that?
Are we going to have the same thing?
I just don't know. I just don't
Avatar being, obviously the last Airbender.
I mean,
Avatar.
it's a cultural experience. Avatar is a cultural experience for anybody of our generation. It really is, because our generation is very much one of the first generations that has decided to maintain the childhood cartoons in our adulthood.
Well,
because because I'm sorry, storytelling just has advanced. It's no longer Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd and all that anymore.
I still rock those cartoons though myself.
No, and I do too, but it's whereas the other generations would say, well, we need to watch whatever's on Monday night TV through Friday night TV, and it's always these crime dramas or these adult shows.
Those get just as repetitive, and they're often as poorly written.
No, they are. Yeah. They are. But you did still have the judgment from the parents of, why are you watching a cartoon? Why are you watching a cartoon? Like, I don't think you understand the story.
Actually, I think one of the big things that changed.
But that's what I'm saying. It's such a cultural thing for us. Avatar is such a cultural thing for our generation. It's a generational thing.
And also, one of the things that really helped with that whole animation going into adulthood thing would be the adult animation. South Park, Simpsons, Family Guy, King of the Hill.
Yeah.
That made it more acceptable socially to watch a cartoon as an adult, because those were adult-oriented cartoons. And I don't mean adult. I just mean adult-oriented. They were adult situations.
Well, I think, adult cartoons versus mature cartoons.
Yeah, right. Or mature cartoons versus adult, however you want to phrase it. Point is that Simpsons, Family Guy, all of them.
Yeah.
And I know King of the Hill is one of your favorites. South Park is one of mine.
I love King of the Hill. I love King of the Hill.
And so, but
actually, even Futurama back in the day, dude. I mean, we can go.
Matt Groening. So, yeah. And Simpsons. He did Simpsons and he did Futurama. But no, that made it okay. And so that we're bringing this up with us. You're now showing your children. If I had children, I'd show mine too. But
no, my kids love Avatar.
And it's almost like a Star Wars thing, right?
Yeah.
Where the kids, grow up with it, then show it to their kids.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to change it for essentially what is identity politics, and how much I hate
that's where they're going.
Politics.
I could be wrong.
Well, it's far too common. It makes it, that's my first assumption.
Yeah.
When people say this, like, it's no longer in the spirit of, I think they're going for that identity politics nonsense.
I hope that's not it.
I hope not.
But it might be. But no, I think you're absolutely right. It's a generational cultural thing. Again, like you said, it's just showing my kids, because they've watched it. You've watched it with them. You've walked in the door, and all of a sudden we're just watching Avatar.
Yeah.
And whatever we have to do for that day, we just end up sitting there watching Avatar, and the kids are watching Avatar with us, and they're asking us questions like, "Oh, Dad, Uncle Matt, like, what are we doing here? Like, what's going on?" And we're like, "Oh no!" And then like we get excited as adults, and we're like, "No, like you gotta understand, like this is like the bending," and then they like do this. And,
like when Iroh's like, there's a reason they call me the Dragon of the West. He takes a sip of the tea and then just starts breathing fire.
No, and absolutely, and I think that they're really, really underestimating the generational relevance that this has, and and if they do not respect that generational relevance, because this spoke to a generation, and I don't think
it's not quite on the level of Harry Potter, but it's close. I mean, Harry Potter obviously being an international phenomenon.
Yeah, that's true.
But I mean, in terms of at least our specific age group for that era, I mean, I remember Avatar as well as I remember Harry Potter, and I go through them about as often.
I do not think that Netflix is going to be sensitive to the generational.
Or they're trying to be overly sensitive to it, and
that it had, because that's the thing, is that if you need to understand is that Avatar is something very well respected throughout the world, even because even. If I'm not mistaken, Asian audiences also appreciated it.
Well, it's got so much Asian influence to it. I mean, obviously the Fire Nation is the stand-in for the Japanese. The Earth Nation is the stand-in for the Chinese. Then the air nomads would be like Tibet, and then the water tribes would be like the Inuit.
Well,
and so
yeah, and no, and I think
so
that
there's a
that's-
lot of cultural diversity there. And there's already cultural diversity, so I don't know why.
I don't know what
that-
they're going for unless it's sexual diversity,
Which
and that is
that's
something
not
that needs
something
to,
that really belongs in that story.
If you're going to force feed it into there, I just don't know if I think that they're just going to
One
go
of
way
my-
too far, and
one
I
of the-
don't think that
one of
they
the
understand
things-
why Avatar is good.
Yeah, one of the things that will always bother me just instantly is a unneeded romance subplot just of any kind. And that's
And
part
I
of the
hope that
reason
they don't do that.
And one of the things that bothered me about Dragon Prince was I felt that they focused too much time on Rayla and what's his name?
Callum.
Thank you.
Callum.
Rayla and Callum's relationship,
Yeah.
and didn't expand on the actual plot. And that gets old to me. And I mean, obviously there's some angst, no pun intended.
It's one of the
between,
reasons that I
Aang and
actually
Katara.
loved Voltron, the legendary defender of the universe, where the Netflix series Voltron is, dude, I'm telling you, if you have not watched the Voltron,
Yeah.
dude.
But
Because
no,
I'm sorry,
my
there's
point-
some animation that is.
Yeah, we're getting
is
off topic
ju-
here,
No,
'cause
no,
I
but,
do-
but no. What, I'm not getting off topic.
Then get to the point.
The point is that they didn't do any of that unnecessary romance BS.
Oh,
with
good.
maybe the exception of like the last season, it was kind of there, kind of not.
Well,
But
it's
anyway,
a very human thing to do that, and I don't, get after stories for using it. Actually, a very good example of how to do it, at least acceptably, would be Harry and Ginny in the books. The
Yeah.
movie's not so much.
I-
But in the books, it's a very minor thing, and it's just it's two teenagers.
yeah, I really do.
But if they're and to put that kind of emphasis on it in a Last Airbender adaptation seems wrong to me. Like, that's just not a focal point of the show. I mean, obviously Aang coming into teenagehood, had a crush on Katara. There was a kind of a angsty thing there, no pun intended.
No,
and that's fine because it's a little bit of that coming of age thing, but to throw in kind of this modern interpretation on it and try and force in some of these more, we'll say, recent evolutions on how we view sexuality, I just don't think it belongs.
Yep, I'm going to end it here on this note, is that I think...
And I hope that's not what they're doing. I'm sorry.
I think
rambling.
I think that they are going to take a story such as the story of Aang that is timeless, and they are going to turn it into a story that is of its time.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's the hero's journey.
And the fact of the matter is that's wrong to do.
Yeah.
Timeless stories should be timeless. You
Well,
should not turn them into stories of their time. And that being said,
I was going to say, I mean, the whole presentation of the show is like it's a legend. It's a hero's journey, and I remember when we did our Avatar episode, I brought up the similarities between Star Wars and Luke Skywalker and Aang.
it's the same thing.
And it's because these are
it's
what we call
Aragorn's
mono.
story.
It's
It's
they're
Aragorn's
monomyths.
story.
They're
It's-
monomyths.
it's
And
the
to
story
try
of
and-
King Arthur, it's
And to try and take a monomyth like that and try and modernize it and inject what you think is better, it almost never turns out that way. And I'm very concerned that they are trying to be, shall we say, woke about it. And we don't need woke. We need well done.
I agree. We don't need woke. We need well done. And thank you guys so much
Yes.
for watching A Drink with Crazy. We do hope that you enjoyed this conversation. And don't forget to comment down below and let us know what you think about all.
I mean,
all of
obviously,
this stuff.
I'm assuming based on what I've seen, but if you guys have thoughts,
Yeah,
please
we're making
feel
some
free to
major
share them.
assumptions here.
Yeah.
And if we're wrong about something, let us know. And if we are terribly wrong about something, we'll actually do a video on it and we'll make a retraction. So
Yeah.
don't forget to subscribe down below and ring that notification bell because that seriously helps us. And until next time, thank you all so much for watching A Drink with Crazy. And cheers.
I'm out of beer, but cheers.
Thank you for watching A Drink with Crazy. If you liked the conversation, make sure to click here to see more.